Market falls with the day's low. Nifty slips below the 17,900 mark, while Nifty Bank reaches 42,000. All sectoral indices barring the Nifty auto indices are in the red, led by IT and financials. Concerns over US Fed sticking to its tightening line surface ahead of Fed Chair Powell's speech today. TCS ekes out a growth over the performance in the third quarter and exudes confidence in the deal pipeline, but a grim economic environment weighs the stock down and the IT pack. Jaguar Land Rover posts a strong 15% growth in sales and a record order book, raising hopes of better margins and higher cash flows. And equity inflows come in at a healthy near 7,300 crores in December, even as large caps continue to lose. Debt schemes see a 22,000 crore outflow in the quarter-end activity, but SIPs remain steady, a third straight month above the 13,000 crore mark. Signals of China looking to stimulate growth boost sentiment for metals, even as global banks revise up their GDP growth outlook. Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are all of the headlines that we're tracking for you this afternoon. There's a lot to talk about, but it is really the market which is top of mind. We're at the low point of the day. It's a 1.1% cut, 200 points gone on the Nifty. There you have it. There's also been that selling which has come through in the past few minutes, like you can see, and the loss is only widening on the frontline index. The sensex is trading with a cut of over 700 points, and it is the Nifty Bank and the IT pack which is exerting the maximum pressure today. So Nifty IT, of course, after TCS, so all of the large cap names in the red, but the Nifty Bank has also slipped further. It is down over 650 points right now. That is the kind of pressure that we are seeing on the banking index. The only sectoral index which manages to trade in the green is the auto pack, but there also you've seen a lot of moderation come through ever since the morning. There you have it, just a minor green tick on the auto pack right now, but some smaller stocks within the auto pack are doing well. These are of course the large names. Tata Motors doing very well, but take a look at something like a Sona, BLW, you have SML, Isuzu, all of these holding up quite well. On the downside, in addition to the PSU banks as well as the IT space, you're also seeing the Adani group of stocks under pressure. So a few of those larger names will come up for you, and those ones seeing pretty sharp cuts right now. 4%, almost 5% gone on Adani Enterprises, and Adani Ports also trading with a cut of nearly 3%. So that's what's going on with the market action. We will keep coming back to this, but let's talk about the individual news pieces now. IT Bellwether, TCS kicked off the third quarter earnings season with both dollar and constant currency revenue beating estimates, but the margin did see a mild miss. Stock, however, is under pressure, primarily due to no clarity from the management on future demand, on deal wins, slowing down sequentially, and cautious commentary, particularly for the Europe region. In fact, we spoke to the top team at TCS earlier this morning. So here are some of the highlights. Listen into that conversation.
These 2 years have been a fairly strong growth years. The next year is like more a balanced year, a consolidation year, both on the revenue side as well as on the overall profitability side. The perspectives are very different depending on the markets. And I think the most important one is that we have a divergence in US between what the larger commentary is and what our own perspective is. And the 15% Europe, which has been a big growth driver for us till last year, that is off the boil and likely to remain soft in the near future. If you go to large enterprises in the big large markets like US, UK, Europe, which together constitutes somewhere in the range of 80%, 85% of our business. And as I said, again, we are talking of large enterprises. One way to look at it is that enterprise balance sheets have never been as strong as they are today compared to 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So balance sheet repair has happened. The easy money actually resulted in a fairly good disciplined execution on that side.
We came in at 23.4. We said we want to exit this year at 25. And structurally, we have worked towards it. If you see in both last quarter and this quarter, we have been able to get improvements. Two specific parts to it. One is we have been focused on execution rigor, and bulk of it is coming from the execution rigor, whether it was in terms of the churn which we went through the last year and the capacity building which we invested into last year, that coming into productive capacity and helping us on the utilization side, realization, the factors which we called out.
All right, that is the word coming in from TCS, and that is really The cautious commentary is what the street is not taking so well. So TCS, along with the rest of the IT pack, is in the red. But one stock which is really surging even on this down day is Tata Motors. It is actually the top gainer on the Nifty on the back of very strong sales coming through for JLR wholesale numbers. So Sonia is here to break that down for us. Sonia?
Well, thanks a lot for that. As you rightly pointed out, it's a very good set of numbers coming in from Jaguar Land Rover for the quarter gone by. Now, both on a year-on-year as well as on a quarter-on-quarter basis, the numbers are looking good. It's a 15% growth year-on-year. The management says that a lot of the supply side issues, the chip shortage issues have eased, and hence that has led to a good pickup in production. In fact, the company is sitting on a record order book as well in excess of 200,000 units for Jaguar Land Rover. And a lot of brokerages are quite bullish on these numbers, stating that this will help the company achieve its objective of achieving free cash flow positive by the end of FY24. In fact, CLSA has upgraded the stock to a buy. They have a target price which is well above the current market price. It's a target of 512. They mention, and Morgan Stanley as well mentions, that there is a free cash generation in FY24 that's expected. JLR will generate £400 million of positive free cash flow as per Morgan Stanley. Now, just look at the trend over the last 4 quarters in terms of wholesale units. It's looking significantly better than the preceding 3 quarters at 79,591 units. Hence, the stock is the biggest Nifty gainer today. Back to you.
All right, that is on Tata Motors. Sonia, thanks a lot for bringing us all of those details. But let's also talk about the mutual fund data now for the month of December. It actually looks quite encouraging. Equity inflows have come in at a 7,300 crore mark. So that looks very healthy. This is after the drop that we saw in November. It came in at around 2,200 crores in November. So from that level, we've seen quite a rise. Remember, this is even as the large cap schemes continue to lose. So the large cap funds have seen an outflow once again, although it is much lower than, the kind of figure that we saw in November. So the large cap outflow for December is around 26 crores. This is versus the around 1,040 crores that we saw last month. Now, a category that has seen a big jump is the exchange-traded funds. So the inflow here is at 8,800 crores. This is versus the 2,000 crores that we saw last time. So big jump coming through there. That's what's happening on the equity funds. But let's also take a look at the debt schemes. There is a 22,000 crore outflow this time around. Nothing to be too alarmed about. This is, likely on standard quarter-end activity by corporates. So there is an outflow there. The biggest outflow from this category comes in from the liquid space. So 13,850 crores is what we had versus an inflow last time of around 34,000 crores. That's in November. What is important to note is that the hybrid category has seen an inflow this time around, and this is after months of money only moving out of the space. So do keep your eye out on this, and I'd be interested to see how this looks in the coming months as well. So the hybrid fund inflow has come in at around 2,200 crores. And lastly, let's talk about the total assets under management. We have seen a little bit of a slip here. So it's come in at 39.9 lakh crores. There you can see a little bit of a slip coming through there. But the SIPs remain rock steady, and they continue to rise. It's come in at over 13,500 crores. And with this, in December, we've seen the 3rd straight month of the SIP contribution being over the 13,000 crore mark. So that is everything that we're tracking from the mutual fund space. But with that, we're going to get into a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk about Joshimath demolition. Guys, welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. And let's now shift focus to the big story from Uttarakhand. Evacuation process at Joshimath has begun, and the demolition of damaged buildings that have developed cracks will start today in order to protect other adjoining buildings. So CNBC-TV18 Santya Gora gets us this very special ground report from the first building which will be demolished in Joshimath. Take a look.
From today, demolition and safe demolition of dangerous buildings will start in Joshimath today. And this is that first building which will be demolished. This is actually a hotel. And in the first phase, around 200 houses have been marked, 200 buildings have been marked for demolition. And so let me show this building to you so that we can get some sense of how bad the situation is. Of course, these cracks in the base of the hotel, these cracks show that how severely damaged this hotel is. And now you can see a red cross mark. This is how the authorities have, earmarked the buildings which are dangerous, which are in a bad situation. Now, I want to show you another angle of this hotel, which will throw some more light on how bad the situation here is. So, this bit, now this portion of the hotel is actually tilted. it's tilting on the structure right next to it. So demolishing this hotel is going to be extremely difficult, considering the location, considering how bad the situation has already become. And talking about the cracks, as I said, that these cracks show how bad the situation is in Joshimath. अभी आप लोग यहाँ पे इकट्ठा हुए हैं, अभी जो डिमोलिशन स्टार्ट करने वाले हैं, आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को भी क्रॉस मार्क किया है।
हाँ, सारी प्रॉपर्टियाँ हैं, हाँ, अगल बगल।
तो अभी मुझे एक चीज समझनी है कि जब डिमोलिशन डिसाइड हुआ था तो आप लोगों से कुछ बातचीत हुई?
पता ही नहीं है, हम तो सीधे अभी टीम देख रहे हैं, पेपर में पढ़ा कल नीचे से फोन आए कि वो डिमोलिशन की कार्रवाई के लिए टेंडर हो चुके हैं। यहाँ तो पेपर भी नहीं आ रहा होगा। हमने 4 दिन से अभी तक एक कप चाय पी रहे और मुंह तक नहीं धोया। पर चलो कोई नहीं, हम कह रहे कोई बात नहीं, डिमोलिशन से अब हमें ऐतराज नहीं है क्योंकि प्रॉपर्टी खराब हो चुकी है, लेकिन हमसे कोई बात तो हो।
All right, that is the latest on the demolition of buildings in Joshimath. In fact, Joshimath has been declared a disaster-prone zone and construction activities have also been banned in the region for now. Local administration has identified unsafe zones in the town and residents are now being evacuated to safer areas. As per the state government, so far 81 families have been moved to safer locations. In fact, Santhya also spoke to one such family who had no option but to leave their home in the bitter cold of January. So take a look at that as well.
This is the Joshial family of Uttarakhand's Joshimath town. This big family used to stay in 3 houses right next to each other here. But at least 10 days ago, the family noticed that all 3 houses had developed serious cracks. By the 3rd January, when the Joshimath issue came to light, the family was shifted to the Joshimath primary school. Days are still manageable, but as expected, nights are difficult, says the family.
लड़कियों लोगों भी रो रही कि हमारे पापा का बना हुआ था, दादी दादों का घर था, आज उनको भी रोना पड़ा। जैसे हम रो रहे वो भी रो रहे हैं। मम्मी हम कैसे देखेंगे अपने पापा का बना हुआ दादी दादों का घर, हम कैसे आएंगे, कैसे देखेंगे ऐसे घर, ऐसा होगा। बहुत बिखर गया घर, आप देखना कल तो क्या स्थिति हो रही घर। मंदिर था, देवी देवताओं के मंदिर, वो भी टूट गया, कुछ नहीं रहा हमारे घर, तो सारा के रोड में।
So this is Joshial family of Joshimath, and this is not, they are not alone. There are 81 families which are dislocated and shifted to these rehabilitation camps till 9th of January. And as I said, it's past midnight and these people, this is how they are living. These are their rehabilitation camps, and this is the condition these people who are dislocated are living in the bitter cold of January.
This crisis has disturbed every aspect of the Joshial family. This is 16-year-old Rahul Joshial. Rahul is a student of class 10th and has to sit down for board exams in the next 2 months. Between all the moving and these dim bulbs at the rehabilitation camp, Rahul is struggling to prepare for his exams.
मैम जैसे मेरे बोर्ड एग्ज़ाम है जो फरवरी में आने वाले हैं, पहले तो पढ़ाई सही चल रही थी, लेकिन जब हमारे फैमिली में ऐसे दिक्कत आने लगी तो मेरी पढ़ाई में भी वैसे ही आते रहे। मैक्सिमम 1 हफ्ता हो गया मेरी पढ़ाई ढंग से नहीं हो रही है, और तब शिफ्टिंग दिन भर शिफ्टिंग करते फिरते थक जा रहे हैं, फिर रात को ही पढ़ नहीं पा रहे हैं, और फिर ऐसी टाइम हो जा रहा, फिर बोर्ड एग्ज़ाम है, डर लग रही है, पढ़ाई नहीं हो रही है ऐसी।
The Joshial family is only one of the numerous families suffering. By the 9th of January, a total of 81 such families were evacuated and shifted to similar camps in the city. The state government says its focus is on safe evacuation.
अभी हमारी जो सबसे पहली प्रायोरिटी है, प्राथमिकता है कि सभी लोगों को सुरक्षित स्थानों पर किया जाए और जान माल की सुरक्षा की जाए।
The state government, which is now claiming to work in war footing mode, had more than a year to take appropriate action, say the local people of Joshimath. Locals claim that it was in November 2021 for the first time that they noticed cracks in their houses. Residents claim that for over a period of 1 year, they tried to raise an alarm and alert the state government, but no one listened to them, including the CM himself. And now, when the situation has become worse, these people, these families are dislocated in this bitter cold of January. In Joshimath, with camera person Lakshman Singh, this is Santhya for CNBC TV18.
All right, extremely tough situation there in Joshimath, and to see so many families affected, like Sandhya pointed out, 81 families affected, and having to move to rehabilitation centers. But we do hope that the evacuation can proceed and that everyone involved is safe. But with that, we are going to get into a short break on the show now. When we return, we're going to bring you updates on the unrest in Brazil as clashes continue between the supporters of newly elected President Lula as well as ex-President Bolsonaro. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch. Here's some interesting opinion now. 2022 was a landmark year for ultra-luxury vehicle maker Rolls-Royce, delivering over 6,000 units globally, the highest ever annual sales that it has recorded in 118 years of its existence. So my colleague Parikshit spoke to the CEO of Rolls-Royce, who said that demand for luxury goods continues to soar unabated and that Indians around the world are a key market for the automaker. Listen in.
We have seen growth in all markets worldwide. There's only one little exception, and that is China, which by a fraction of percentage went down compared to the previous year. But again, still quite a record year. That's the second best ever year in China. But all other markets are definitely on new records. All right. Now, also we have seen in the Indian market definitely more sales last year than the year before. But I think for me important is, and that is, I think, a very important message, that we see a lot of Indian clients worldwide, be it in the Americas, be it in Middle East. So I'm not talking India only. I'm talking Australia. I'm talking our home market, the UK, where we see a lot of Indian clients. Indians, allow me to say that, love Rolls-Royce. And there is a long-standing tradition that harks back even into the Maharaja times, for Rolls-Royce motor cars. So for that reason, we are strongly positioned in what I call a worldwide global Indian customer base, which is great. And I'm very grateful for that.
All right, Indians love Rolls-Royces, and 6,000 units sold, which is a record for the company. So demand for that luxury car looking extremely solid. But let's now also move on and bring you updates from the ongoing unrest that we're seeing in Brazil. Authorities have detained close to 1,500 supporters of ex-President Bolsonaro. The protesters participated in mass riots targeting Congress and other government buildings. In fact, President Lula da Silva has declared these riots terrorist acts and has vowed to punish the perpetrators. NBC's Sam Brock reports on this.
After chaotic clashes with police, where protesters used metal barricades to bash in the windows of Brazil's Congress, around 1,500 Brazilians are behind bars tonight, supporting the former president Jair Bolsonaro, who, like Trump, pushed a narrative of electoral fraud for months without evidence, leading to scenes Sunday that looked an awful lot like January 6th. Police flashbangs and tear gas going well into the night to quell the crowds.
The people who invaded the Brazilian institutions, they were thinking about what happened in the United States. If it didn't happen in the United States, it wouldn't have happened in Brazil.
President Biden condemning the violence as an assault on democracy, throwing the country's support behind the newly elected Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, or just Lula, who served 2 prior terms. As Brazilians like Alan Lemos say watching the riots felt very much like the American insurrection.
I think it's very similar in a way. It's just as sad, because I don't think that's progress. Just like here, people have lost faith in the electoral process.
Bolsonaro has been spotted in Florida in recent days. His wife tonight saying he was admitted to the hospital earlier today for abdominal pain, with new questions about whether he could stay on a diplomatic visa.
If an individual has no basis on which to be in the United States, an individual is subject to removal by the Department of Homeland Security.
All this as Brazil buckles, but tries not to break under its biggest attack on democracy in decades. Sam Brock, NBC News, Miami.
All right, that is the latest on the unrest that we're seeing in Brazil. We will keep bringing you updates on this through the days as well. But a quick look at the market. On the index level, there really seems to be no change. It's still a 200-point cut that we are seeing, but a lot of movement is being seen in stocks. So a lot of them which were holding up well in the green have seen some cuts come through. So you have M&M, which has moved to the low point of the day, Sun Pharma, which has moved to the low point of the day. A lot of the PSUs, like we were pointing out earlier, are now seeing significant cuts. So you have Power Grid, ONGC, all at the low point. But at the same time, there has been a recovery in some names as well. So HCL Tech has moved higher. You have Wipro, which has moved higher. TCS has actually, I mean, of course, it's still seeing a significant cut. It's 1.5% lower, but it has come off the low significantly. There you have it on your screen. This is HCL Tech. We'll also bring TCS up for you. So some of the IT names moving higher, but the rest of the market continues to be under pressure. It is over 1% cut that we are seeing on the frontline index. And you have the Nifty Bank also, which continues to exert pressure. 1.5% gone on the Nifty Bank. But on that note, now we're going to wind down on this edition of Business Lunch. You guys stay tuned. Mid-cap radar comes up after this short break.